right, guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome to Modern Warfare 2 Season 3. I figured I'd start this season off with a bang and give you guys the updated best weapons and best class setups to be running here throughout the season. With weapons like the ISO Hemlock and the Tempest Torrent getting significantly nerfed here in Modern Warfare 2, I figured it's time we're going to update this top 5 list. Let's get into this now. Now, keep in mind, my list is completely subjective. I go by what I perform best with and try to share my weapon attachments and my tunings with you. Your list could 100% be completely different, and that's completely okay. Your playstyle could be different than mine. Feel free to go down in the comments section and share your top 5 weapons with me. I'd love to hear what they are. I'd love to see what your setups are. Maybe I could possibly try them out and review them for a video. So I'm going to start in an honorable mention spot with the ISO Hemlock. I'm sure you guys use this thing in Season 2. Absolutely stunning weapon to use, low recoil, extremely satisfying to get kills with. But we can all agree it was kind of overpowered. So they've reduced all of the damage ranges on the weapon. So it's not exactly the most overpowered choice anymore. I would put it on par, I suppose, with something like the Cast-Off 545, but just a smidge better because that recoil is still almost non-existent. But at the end of the day, I still think it falls within one of the better weapons in this game, but it's not going to be in the top 5. So we're going to go over an honorable mention class setup here. So the Season 3 ISO Hemlock class setup is going to be starting here with the Slimline Pro Optic. I personally do not like the iron sights. It is a preference, so if you like them, feel free to run them. Personally, I like to run a reflex sight, so use whatever one you're comfortable with. Tuning here, negative 2.32 towards aim down sight speed, and then we got negative 2.25 towards far. That's to reduce the visual recoil. Now, for a stock, you want the Arcom S4. To up the mobility of the weapon. It gives you sprint speed, aim walking speed, crouch movement speed, and aim down sight speed. Yes, we are sacrificing a tiny bit of aiming stability and recoil control, but based with all the tunings and all of these attachments, this weapon still has virtually no recoil whatsoever. And that's by far the best stock to increase your chances at close range. Tuning is negative 1.55 towards aim down sight speed, negative 1.32 towards our aim walking speed. Now, down here in the rear grip, you want the X10 grip for even more mobility or, I suppose, aggressive type attachments. Sprint to fire speed and aim down sight speed. Tuning is plus 0.29 towards recoil steadiness, negative 0.30 towards that sprint to fire speed. Down for the underbarrel, you want the Commando 4 grip for a little bit of recoil stabilization and aiming idle stability to help us hit our longer range shots. Tuning is going to be negative 0.59 towards aim down sight speed, negative 0.19 towards aim walking speed. And the last attachment is the RF Crown 50. Again, for recoil control, horizontal and vertical is what's gained there. Tuning is negative 0.62 towards aim down sight speed, plus 0.29 towards gun kick control. By far the best ISO Hemlock class setup here after the nerf. Definitely should be giving this one a go. Go down to the comment section. Let me know what you think of it after you try it out in the firing range. Now we're getting into it here at number 5 with the Val 46 / the MP7. This weapon got a pretty decent sized nerf during Season 2 Reloaded, and it started to get the attention it deserved. I never thought it was a bad weapon altogether. Yes, a bit pea shooter like at range, but at close range, this thing is absolutely gross, and that's where the buff comes in. It got a close range damage buff, and this thing is absolutely absurd. If you've seen some of the pros use it, it's actually becoming viable in pro matches. Some pros have actually pulled this out during their CDL qualifiers, and I expect to see it at some of the majors as well. The major tournaments, that is. By far an underrated weapon, and I think it deserves the number 5 spot. We're going to start right here with a stock where we have the Demo RXT stock. That's going to be for crouch movement speed, sprint speed, and aim down sight speed to help the overall aggressive attributes of the weapon. This is definitely one you want to be up close and personal with people, so losing some recoil control isn't a massive deal. So that being said, tuning is negative 2.32 towards your aim down sight speed. Then we got negative 1.78 towards the aim walking speed. For the underbarrel, we have the Schlager Soldier Grip, again, to help the aggressiveness. Sprint to fire speed and aim down sight speed is gained here. Tuning is going to be negative 0.39 towards aim down sight speed, negative 0.25 towards the sprint to fire speed. All the way over here to a muzzle. You don't need an underbarrel on this one. You want the Bruin Pendulum for vertical and horizontal recoil control to help your medium range fights. Just because it's an SMG and just because it's an aggressive option doesn't mean you're not going to be forced to take some fights in uncomfortable ranges. So keeping the recoil down is a positive in that sense, but it's not a priority. But the Bruin Pendulum does a very good job at shooting across the map. Tuning is going to be negative 0.34 towards aim down sight speed, plus 0.35 towards the gun kick control. For the barrel, the Schlager L203 barrel, damage range, hipfire accuracy, and bullet velocity, while only sacrificing a tiny bit of aim down sight speed and hip recoil control. Now, like I just said, Just because it's an aggressive weapon doesn't mean you're not going to be forced to take some gunfights out of the weapon's preferred range, so the damage range is going to help it in those categories. Tuning is going to be plus 0.39 towards recoil steadiness, negative 0.29 towards the aim down sight speed, and our last attachment is going to be the VLK Laser 7 milliwatt here, giving you aim down sight speed, aiming stability, and sprint to fire speed. A little confused as to why it took off in my tuning. We're going to do that very quickly here, and we're going to have it right about here. We're negative 0.29 towards sprint to fire, and then we're going to get our tuning for the aim down sight speed, negative 26.58. Like I said, an extremely underrated choice of weaponry here in Modern Warfare 2. If you have not given the MP7 or the Vel 46 a try, definitely jump into game with this setup. Definitely go into the firing range and give it a try. You won't be disappointed whatsoever. I've had some crazy gameplays with this weapon. Now, here's where things get a little tricky, because I think when it comes to the number 1 through 4 weapons, they're kind of subjective, but everybody's kind of in agreement on them. At number 4, I have the Kastov 74U, a weapon that only got nerfed once back in Season 1. In my opinion, didn't get nerfed enough because it doesn't hold assault rifle-like statistics, more or less SMG statistics. But I think people have learned to use the other weapons to compete better with this weapon. So it kind of falls down the list. I don't see this weapon nearly as much in my matches as I do, for example, the TAC 56, the M4, or the Vaznev. So that being said, it falls down my list this season, but it's still a very good weapon nonetheless. So we're going to change it up a little bit, and we're going to start here with the laser with the FSS OLEV. Like I said, this weapon is definitely more of an SMG than it is an assault rifle, even though it's in the assault rifle category. You want to build this thing out like an SMG to find the most success. You want to play extremely aggressive with it because of the high damage and decent fire rate. So the FSS OLEV gives you aim down sight speed, aiming stability, and sprint to fire speed to help the SMG-like tendencies of the weapon. So negative 0.27 towards the sprint to fire and negative 19.74 towards aim down sight speed is where the tuning falls. For the muzzle, you do need the FJX Fulcrum Pro for vertical and horizontal recoil control. This weapon does have quite a bit of a kick to it, so the muzzle really helps the cause here. Negative 0.31 towards aim down sight speed and plus 0.15 towards the gun kick control. So for the underbarrel, we have the FSS Shark Fin 90, and think of this more as a placeholder. It gives you aiming idle stability and nothing further, but what we can do is use it for tuning, and the tuning is going to be negative 0.49 towards aim down sight speed, negative 0.19 towards the aim walking speed, again to further help that aggressive attributes of the weapon while not having really any negatives there, except a tiny bit of recoil control. For the rear grip, we're going to want the Demo X2 grip for recoil control, just like the muzzle. It's control a bit of that kick there. Tuning, though, is going to be negative 0.58 towards aim down sight speed, negative 0.19 towards the sprint to fire speed. And our last attachment is the broadside FCT stock. Crouch movement speed, sprint speed, aim down sight speed, and aiming stability is what's gained here with this stock. Since it was introduced with the broadside shotgun on this platform, I think it's the best stock for basically all of the weapons, because those are a bunch of positives here in the form of aggression. Tuning is going to be negative 2.84 towards aim down sight speed, negative 0.77 towards the aim walking speed. Like I said, number 1 through 4 gets a little tough when it comes to actually pinpointing a number for them, because I think we're all in agreement all of these weapons are very good. And they kind of have different play styles attached to them. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about when we jump over to number 3. So at number 3, I'm going to have the M4. And the M4 has been a staple weapon since this game launched, since it came out with the alpha and the beta. This weapon was always good, and they've never really nerfed it. I think they've changed a few minor things, but nothing that changed the base statistics of the weapon as a whole. So that being said, this thing's an absolute tank. I'm sure you've used it. I'm sure you've seen some of my setups. A must try. This one is no different. I've been using this setup for basically 2 seasons now, and I've found nothing but success. The mistake I see people making is they're putting on sluggish attachments in order to give it damage range and recoil control. That's not what this weapon thrives at. It's a fast firing assault rifle, meaning it's very good at medium and close range. You're not going to want to be taking those longer range fights with it. Build this thing out for aggression, and you're going to still have assault rifle like statistics. You can see it there with the stat bar, all the positives we're gaining in forms of recoil control, mobility handling, and our damage range is still sitting very pretty there if you look at the bottom left. So let's start with the stock. The Demo Fade Pro stock gives us aim walking speed and sprint speed, with the only negative being a tiny bit of aiming stability. But what that's going to do is it's going to help us strafe around the map a bit quicker and hit some shots. Tuning is negative 2.32 towards our aim down sight speed, negative 0.70 towards our aim walking speed. For the rear grip, you want the Seiken ZX4 recoil control, because I'm building this out aggressively, I still need recoil control to keep the assault rifle statistics and assault rifle-like tendencies of the weapon itself to keep that recoil nice and low. The Seiken ZX does a very good job, and our tuning is negative 0.39 towards the aim down sight, negative 0.42 towards the sprint to fire speed. For the underbarrel, you want the phase 3 grip. You can see that large increase in the accuracy side of things with aiming idle stability, hip fire accuracy, and recoil stabilization to help this thing shooting nice and straight. Tuning is negative 0.44 towards the aim down sight speed, negative 0.28 towards the aim walking speed. For the muzzle, the FJX Fulcrum Pro for vertical and horizontal recoil control. You can see the large increase in our recoil control there and only the tiny bit of loss towards the aim down sight speed. But again, this is to help the assault rifle like tendencies, help this weapon shoot a straight line at medium range, but we still get to keep our weapon nice and snappy for the close range engagements. Tuning is going to be negative 0.31 towards our aim down sight speed, plus 0.23 towards that gun kick control. And our last attachment, the FSS OLEV laser. This is an attachment I would say could be swapped out if you want an optic, or let's say you want a magazine, or even an ammunition type. I would steer away from the barrels with that being said. But the FSS OLEV EV laser really helps the aggressive tendencies here, giving you aim down sight speed, aiming stability, and sprint to fire speed. Again, it took my tuning off. I'm not sure why. Let's do it very quickly here. Sprint to fire speed, we're going to have about here where it's negative 0.3. And for aim down sight speed, we're going to be setting that about right here, negative 39.55. All reliable type weapon. Everybody's used the M4. Well, the first weapon you unlock in the game is the M4. This is by far the best setup. The longtime fans of the channel will vouch for me and tell you thing's an absolute animal. Falling at number 2, we're going to have the Vaznev 9K, the pro SMG of choice. And there was a couple of balance changes in the form of muzzles and underbarrels last season. So the setups have changed, and it just gets even better with this weapon. Obviously, it's one of the best and fastest killing when it comes to close range engagements, and due to the low recoil, it's very viable at medium range. So let's get into these attachments. Let's see what the pros are using on this one. Obviously, we're going to start here with a stock where we have the Otrazat giving you aim walking speed and sprint speed. This one, I've seen 2 different stocks used. I've seen the broadside FCT and I've seen the Otrazat. Personally, I do prefer the Otrazat here because we're not losing any recoil control, helping our longer range fights. So tuning on that is going to be negative 2.71 towards aim down sight speed, negative 1.24 towards the aim walking speed. Down here for the rear grip, you're going to want the TrueTech for sprint to fire speed and aim down sight speed to, again, help the aggressive attributes of the weapon. Tuning got taken off once again. Let's do it pretty quickly here. We're going to be adjusting our aim down sight speed here to about there, negative 0.41, and our sprint to fire speed to about here, negative 0.17. So sliding all the way over here to our underbarrel where you have the Edge 47 grip. This is one of the changes I was referring to. So they reduced the ADS penalty of basically all of the underbarrels here in the game. So the Edge 47 grip now becomes a viable option because it takes away virtually no aim down sight speed while getting recoil stabilization in return. Tuning is going to be negative 0.41 towards aim down sight speed, and then negative 0.31 towards aim walking speed. And over here for the muzzle, a different attachment. It's a flash hider. Who in the right mind thought we would ever be using flash hiders? We haven't used them in any of the games, basically. Modern Warfare 2019, Cold War, Vanguard, Modern Warfare 2, until now, no one's been ever used them because who cares about muzzle flash concealment? It's not a big deal, but this is one of those that got buffed. It takes away virtually no aim down sight speed, and you can see in the recoil control category, it is a good amount there with the recoil steadiness added to the weapon. So tuning for that one is going to be negative 0.58 towards aim down sight speed, plus 0.19 towards the gun kick control. The last attachment, I feel like a broken record, the FSS OLEV laser, aim down sight speed, aiming stability, and sprint to fire speed. For the most aggressive of players. Obviously, you can't use that in competitive, so just take that right off if you're playing ranked play. But for public matches, negative 0.24 towards the sprint to fire speed, negative 23.03 towards the aim down sight speed. My favorite weapon in the game by far. Doesn't mean it's the best, but definitely my favorite. Definitely the weapon you can run around and get extremely aggressive with, have a ton of crazy movement, get a ton of feeds. Highly recommend using this one. Sliding in at the number 1 spot, we have the TAC-56. This is the weapon for the slower paced players, the players that are holding the objectives, the players that are holding the rotations to objectives. You're holding down B flag, you're holding down players flooding into the hard point. This is an objective player's dream of a weapon right here. Low recoil, great damage range, decent mobility. Obviously, it does have its fall-offs when it comes to playing against SMGs, but in terms of assault rifles, it's easily the best choice in the game. So my class setup may look a little different if you haven't seen my most recent video. Like I just mentioned with the Vaznev, the underbarrel's got some changes. So we're going to start here with the biggest change of the build in the Edge 47 grip, because it takes away a very, very small amount of our aim down sight speed, but you can see we're gaining both recoil control and accuracy here while running the Edge 47 grip. And with that being said, we no longer need to run a muzzle because of it, because of what's gained with this underbarrel. Tuning is going to be negative 0.31 towards your aim down sight speed, negative 0.22 towards your aim walking speed. Let's go over here to the barrel where I have the Tundra Pro for damage range, hipfire accuracy, and bullet velocity to help the slower pace of the weapon as a whole, and to help you pick people off the objectives or the rotations that I was just referring to in a little intro of it. This barrel is a necessity. Before they kind of played around with some mobility attachments, I hated running the Tundra Pro. I felt like a slug, but all these new changes, this weapon actually is quite quick in terms of mobility and aim down sight speed. Tuning is negative 0.35 towards aim walking speed, negative 0.27 towards our aim down sight speed. For a laser FSS OLEV, once again, aim down sight speed, aiming stability, and sprint to fire speed. Tuning is negative 0.44 towards your sprint to fire speed, negative 34.55 towards our aim down sight speed. All the way over here to a stock, I like to use the TV X line, but I know some people prefer the TV Cardinal. It's whatever you want to run here when it comes to this one. Like I said, I prefer this X line. Tuning is negative 1.55 towards aim down sight speed, negative 1.24 towards the aim walking speed. And the last attachment is the demo clean shot grip for sprint to fire speed and aim down sight speed, where our tuning is negative 0.55 towards the aim down sight speed, negative 0.45 towards our sprint to fire speed. So those are my updated best class setups here to be using in Modern Warfare 2 Season 3. Make sure you guys go down in the comment section and let me know what your top 5s are after all of the weapon buffs and nerfs. If you guys haven't seen the patch notes, make sure you head over to my community wall and check it out. I have all of the buffs and nerfs over there. I highly recommend you guys go into your classes and at least give these a try. Put them on, go into the firing range, see that they all have extremely low recoil. They do exactly what I say they do. They are worth a shot, and I would love to hear your feedback of them down in the comment section. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you hit like and subscribe if you haven't already. I'll see you guys in the next video.